Locked In is one of Netflix's latest movies to be released on the platform, and it's definitely an interesting one. For the right reasons, maybe not. Focusing on the character Katherine Carter, an individual who has something called locked-in syndrome. We witnessed all of the events which dated back several years, which led to the point where she got into that fateful accident in the present day. With a twist making up the ending, let's recap, break down, and explain all that there was to take away from this movie. So let's get into it. Here is Locked In Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. So this movie was very much centered around being locked in, hence the title. We had Katherine, who was locked inside of her body due to the attempted murder on her. We had Jamie, who was locked inside of his own mind due to the fear of going outside, and we had Lina, who was locked inside of the grounds of the property because she had to care for Jamie, and had never had a job or experienced the real world. So being enclosed was very much at the core of this movie. As we embarked onto the ending of the movie, we saw that Katherine was making a recovery and was on the cusp of revealing all that she knew about what led her there to Nurse Nicky by blinking at the letters that were in front of her. We thought that she was going to be revealing the fact that Lina was involved in her stepson Jamie's murder, and that Dr. Laurence was involved too. However, it was during the flashbacks that we saw that there was more than met the eye with the story. It turned out that Katherine was also involved in the murder of her stepson, and Dr. Laurence had been playing both Katherine and Lina in order to worm his way into getting money if the property was sold. Something which did feel a bit ridiculous. With Lina being riddled with guilt over what she did to Jamie, we saw that Dr. Laurence said if she didn't sell the house so that they could be together properly, then he'd use her journal where she'd written down that she wished that Jamie was dead, and he'd send it into the police with the hopes of getting it pinned on her. With her escaping and going to find Katherine, Lina saw the both of them together, and it sparked the climax of the movie. Lina locked herself in the room after being spotted, and once Dr. Laurence broke into it, she stuck a fork inside of his hand and managed to escape. This then meant that Lina was on the run and both Katherine and Dr. Laurence were after her. We were led to believe at that point that Katherine was trying to kill Lina to stop her from going to the authorities. But what actually occurred was that she fired the weapon at Dr. Laurence in his car to stop him from going after her. This was all revealed to us by the phone call that was taking place with Nurse Nicky and Lina, once Lina and Dr. Laurence took Katherine back to the grounds with the intention of killing her in order to keep her silent. With that revelation, Lina finally felt the love that she always wanted from Katherine. When she originally moved in all those years ago when she was younger, she never felt as though she was loved. And Jamie even said that it was all that Lina ever wanted. So with her finding out that she didn't try to kill her and that it was Dr. Laurence who was leading the way with wanting her dead, it meant that Lina had a change of heart and didn't want to kill her mother-in-law / adopted mother. Instead, she wanted to kill Dr. Laurence. We also had the revelation in this moment too that it was Dr. Laurence who ran over Katherine and put her in the condition that she was in. Before this revelation though, Lina and the doctor were going to inject Katherine with something which meant that it would essentially make it look like she had some kind of seizure and died naturally. But with the change of heart, Katherine instead injected Dr. Laurence, but he didn't end up dying. So instead she stuck a knife into his heart, something which was brutal. And it was also kind of symbolic of the fact that he'd broken Lina's heart because she did genuinely care about him at one point. Then, right at the end, with the authorities at the property, we saw that Nurse Nicky was there, who obviously knew everything that went down with the killing of Jamie and the attempted killing of Katherine, but it was left on a cliffhanger, making us wonder if she would tell the police about what Lina had done. An ending that was utterly ridiculous and made no sense at all. Nicky is a nurse, and you'd think that she wouldn't stand by and let a murderer get away with what they did, so it was a bit of a silly cliffhanger. With Lina holding the hand of Katherine, the person she was literally going to kill only moments earlier, I suppose it's supposed to mean a kind of happy ending? I don't even know at this point. It was all just a bit ridiculous. Overall review. Personally, I thought this movie wasn't good at all. It might be one of the worst movies that I've watched this year. I thought it was a bit ridiculous in the sense that the doctor was playing both Lina and Katherine all for money, and the way that they tried to get across the idea that the doctor was into money by calling out that he got a loan for a nice new car. And also the time where we saw that he was flicking through a magazine looking at expensive watches, it was too obvious, and I thought it treated us, the audience, like we were a bit dumb. There wasn't much thought behind it at all. The twist of the doctor being in on the murder with Katherine was something that felt a bit stupid. And although I didn't see it coming because it just didn't make sense when it was revealed. The very idea that she'd be involved in the killing of her stepson was something that baffled me, and I didn't get that vibe from her at all. When Lina got in the car with Dr. Laurence when she left the hospital, even though he tried to run her down and she stuck a fork into his hand, the way that it was just brushed over and like everything in that climax was inconsequential was very poor. Making Lina become this psychotic killer that was staring down the nurse felt extremely out of character, and I didn't buy for 1 minute that she'd kill Katherine. We saw how she reacted when she killed Jamie. It wasn't in the character to go on and do that again, so it felt extremely unnatural. Right at the end of the movie, when we saw that Nurse Nicky was at the house, stood alongside Lina and Katherine, and Lina said, "What are you going to tell them?" It was done with the intention of making us think that she might not tell the authorities about what happened. But at the end of the day, again, like the other characters, it would be very out of character for Nicky to not go to the authorities and to hold on to the secret that she knew who killed Jamie, and also who killed Dr. Laurence. It was just a bit ridiculous and didn't make sense, as I didn't buy that any of that would actually happen in reality. It was pretty obvious from the off that it was Dr. Laurence who caused the accident because of the flashbacks in the opening section where the only car that was in the entirety of the movie was present. So it was just about working out the motive. The suspense in this movie wasn't really that great, and I wasn't on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen next, something that's key in a movie like this. The only thing that I thought was an okay takeaway was Rose Williams' performance. She was probably the strongest performer in the cast. I know that Famke Janssen is the most experienced, but her accent was so off in this role, and her performance was so stale. I don't like hating on movies because I try to appreciate them for what they are, but when Netflix are releasing movies like this and billing them as good thrillers when they're not much better than Hallmarks that you'd see on TV at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it has to be called out. It's a shame, but I guess that's just the way this movie is. I gave this a 1.5 star on Letterboxd. To put that into perspective, there are only 2 movies that I've given lower than that, so it's not that great at all, and I wouldn't really recommend it. So, there you have it, Locked In Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos such as Endings Explained, theories and predictions and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of this movie? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.